Scotland's first city, Glasgow, hosted the start of the Kellogg's Tour of Britain, and the journey out and home highlighted the beauty of Strathclyde and the central region. And when the race returned to George Square, Maurizio Fondriest sprinted clear to win. A return from injury and a return to the top for the ex-world champion. The second day from Carlisle penetrated the Lake District, and although the race enjoyed stunning scenery, a crash in Ambleside marred the day. Last year's winner, Phil Anderson, was injured. He carried on, but in 2 days he would retire. On the Kirkstone Pass, the crowd enjoyed the spectacle. And in Blackpool, an even bigger crowd enjoyed a desperate sprint finish. It was won by the Dutchman Wiebren Veenstra. On Wednesday, the short but crucial time trial in Bolton showed the Pink Panther, Maurizio Fondriest, to be a worthy leader when he won the stage with the only time inside 15 minutes. On to Liverpool later in the day, and a lone victory by Andre Schmill, the World Cup leader, again before another full house. Overall, though, Fondriest had opened the gaps. He led Vyacheslav Yekimov now by 24 seconds. Olaf Ludwig was third, and then came Sean Yates, Britain's best, in fourth. Yesterday, Fondriest faced his best challenge yet when the German Rolf Aldag joined a raiding party through the Peak District. At one stage, he held the race lead on the road. But the Lamprey team of Fondriest chased hard to save the day, and in Leicester, Olaf Ludwig finally got the stage win he tried so hard for. Overall this morning, Fondriest still leads by 24 seconds ahead of Yekimov, and followed by Ludwig, Aldag and Yates in that order. Yes, it's true, we're in the city of Nottingham by the sea. The City Council here felt the sea was too far away, so they've moved it here for 10 days, and the donkeys arrive at 11 o'clock. But by that time, the survivors of this year's Kellogg's Tour of Britain will have headed out for the Pennines and the finish of this race in Manchester. Well, I've got my rock, and you know, at my age, I deserve a day off. Let's join Paul Sherwin.
Well, as Phil gets a little bit of a sleep there, the ride's on the start line down here in Nottingham. As they lead away, they've got a fantastic stage facing them today. It's going to be through the Peak District and some superb racing countryside. The route's going to take them out of Nottingham over to Roseley Bar, the first hard climb of the day. The final climb of the tour will come on the Cat and Fiddle before they rush down into Macclesfield and then on the road up to Manchester. As we leave the streets of Nottingham, Alan's at the back with a Lanterne Rouge.
Last day in the Kellogg's Tour. Usually we talk to the yellow jersey, but he doesn't speak any English. So we've got Rob Reynolds-Jones, who's at the moment in last place. If anybody knows how hard this bike race has been, this is the man. Tell us about it, Rob.
Yesterday was a really difficult stage with 2 first category climbs. The boys just seem to rocket up the climbs, and then over the top it's grippy.
How are the legs?
Not too bad. Morale's been okay in the team, you know, with Ben having the jersey. Just struggle through.
Maybe you wouldn't have to struggle so much, Rob, if you'd had some bran flakes for breakfast. This craze of banners really is catching on, but 1 or 2 people are actually asking us questions through the banners, and it's causing quite a few problems. In fact, this one is so hard for me, I think I'm going to have to bring back the old master.
Listen to the old Paul. I'm not sure what it means myself, but I guess I've driven on 22 Tours de France. That's 60,000 miles, 11 countries. It must be me. Let's get back to the race. Paul Hinton, 75th overall, and breaking clear today, almost from the start. And the rally team has started to warm to this race over the last couple of days. And I think this is the reason for the attack.
That's right. This is Kerry-Ann, his girlfriend, who's waiting at the side of the road to welcome him through.
But look at this, Paul. In fact, we've now got Malcolm Elliott, who's earned £250 early on this morning when he won the special sprint put up by Broxtowe Council. Now he's gone on the attack. He's picked up Paul Hinton. He's gone straight by him. In fact, Hinton is making a big effort here to join Malcolm Elliott. Well, Kerry-Ann is waiting up the road, but I don't know whether he'll stop.
Well, the weather conditions are excellent for the race today. 20 degrees Celsius again, cloudy and overcast, with a few sunny spells later in the afternoon.
Absolutely ideal racing conditions for the riders today on their second day in the Peak District Hills. Well, look at this. In fact, Elliott has gone on, and Paul Hinton is stopping to meet Kerry-Ann.
I really must question the wisdom of that kind of move, because the race is on at the moment. He was in a great move with Malcolm Elliott, who's going clear of the main pack. I'm quite sure that his team manager, Mickey Morrison's going to have a few words to say about that.
Well, there's the first time check, 1 minute and 23 seconds. Now, Malcolm Elliott is a shade over 2 minutes behind Fondriest at the start this morning. They can't allow him to get too far away, and Elliott has lived in this area most of his life, although he resides at the moment in the United States, and I can't imagine how many times he will have trained over Roseley Bar.
And there'll be a lot of Malcolm Elliott supporters out on the race route today, especially over that tough climb. But the moment, pace being set at the front by the Lamprey squad, they're not panicking, they're in a nice formation here, just setting a pace to make sure that Elliott doesn't build up too big of a lead before we get to the big mountains to come.
And there's the yellow jersey of Maurizio Fondriest riding just behind his teammates who are looking after him today. Meanwhile, Elliott is on the climb now of Roseley Bar. And there's an indication of how they know him. Come on, Malcolm, follow the Piper. And the spelling of Piper, by the way, is quite correct. They're thinking of our Alan. But this, you know, is a very steep climb. It hairpins its way to the summit. There is no descent off the top of Roseley Bar. That's why it's such a good climb for an attacking race.
There's no major reaction in the main field at the moment, and in fact Maurizio Fondriest sprints to the front to keep a little bit out of danger. On the left-hand side in the white jersey is the leader of the Pop-Tarts King of the Mountain, Scott Sunderland, riding an excellent race, and if he can get a few more points here, I think he's going to walk away with the title.
So that's the battle for second place at the moment, because here we have Malcolm Elliott, and the time now is 2 minutes 30 seconds, and that gives him the yellow jersey on the road for the second day in succession. Maurizio Fondriest has been put on the defensive. Over the top of Roseley Bar for Malcolm Elliott. Now, they haven't picked up Paul Hinton yet, and there he is. He's still riding, not far ahead of the main field. So he kept going on his own. I think he's regretting now actually leaving the wheel there of Malcolm Elliott, because the two of them could have made so much more time together. Let's have a look back. There's the field coming up on him now, and the men doing the chasing. Scott Sunderland in the white, Marco Vermey right in the centre of our picture there, Sean Yates with his racing jersey unzipped on the left of our picture. And these riders just keeping the tempo. They're not panicking at all at this early stage. Down on the bottom of the climb, that's the CMC. And as you can see, well, they had bacon for breakfast.
Yeah, but you know, at the front there's no major reaction, but one or two riders suffering at the back on this tough climb, but Scott Sunderland is dancing away from everybody else to try and get some points.
And Sunderland trying to pick up Paul Hinton, in fact, and there he is. He's gone past him, because second place at the top of this first category climb will give him the title King of the Mountains this year in the Kellogg's Tour of Britain. He's over in second place. I think Paul Hinton, in fact, had just hung on there to go over the top in third. Let's have a look if he did. Malcolm Elliott, Scott Sunderland, Paul Hinton, his best position on the climb this week. Marco Vermey fourth, Fondriest in fifth.
If a solo move like this had have come from a lesser rider than Malcolm Elliott, I would have said a suicide mission. But this man has got the strength. I know he's going for it. It's going to shake things up in the back, because he's only 2 minutes and 9 seconds behind. Malcolm Elliott isn't out here for fun. He's out here for the win. Let's hope he can do it.
Well, let's hope he can, because Malcolm Elliott, as I say, knows these roads very well indeed. So through the beautiful countryside of the Peak District today, the field roll along, and the man they're chasing, Malcolm Elliott. We're now heading in to Buxton, and many big international races have passed through this town over the years. Elliott, very determined man. Let's have a look what he still has. And he's now 4 minutes 50 seconds up, almost 5 minutes. They're going to have to chase him soon, Paul.
Well, Malcolm's the kind of rider who knows how to dose his effort. He really has been a great rider, but there's a tack behind. This is Nigel Perry of the FS Maestro team. This is obviously a tactic to try and steal the points away in the hotspot sprint competition from Mark Walsham, because Ben Luckwell is worried about the sprint of the British rider Mark Walsham.
And here is that sprint. Elliott takes the first points across the line, and in fact Ben Luckwell, the leader of the Ordnance Survey Sprint Series, will be pleased about that, because Elliott doesn't feature there. Lamprey organising the chase. You see, nobody helps the leading team. They've got to come and do all of the work themselves.
An excellent tactical move by the FS Maestro team, because Nigel Perry's going to take 3 points here in the hotspot sprint at Buxton Marketplace, and that means that Ben Luckwell's challenger Mark Walsham can only get 1 point from this sprint.
And here's the sprint for 1 point, and we've got Aldad going on the far right, but look at this, the FS Maestro Hendrik Redant trying to lead out Ben Luckwell. He moves away, and Luckwell himself is being challenged by Yekimov here all the way to the line. Yekimov wants the small-time bonus on the line to improve his position. He doesn't get it. In fact, that was a superb sprint by Ben Luckwell, and the leader of the competition now confirms himself as the winner of the competition. Elliott, Perry and Luckwell was the order. Now, meanwhile, back at the front of this race today, Malcolm Elliott has the thought of a yellow jersey on his mind. He's now on the climb of the Cat and Fiddle, and the lead is coming down, but only by a little bit. 3 minutes 55 seconds. Hey diddle diddle, the Cat and the Fiddle.
In fact, after that hotspot sprint, Ben Luckwell went clear, and he's now joined his teammate at the front, Nigel Perry, and they're soon going to be on the slopes of the Cat and Fiddle themselves, and it may just be that they can get a little bit of a lead and get over the top of this mountain, because it may well be, with Elliott in front challenging the yellow jersey, the pressure's going to be put on behind by Lamprey.
Well, Elliott here, hearing some news from Bob Downs, his manager. I'm not too sure that it gets any easier, not if this man is trying to hunt you down. And Maurizio Fondriest, I don't think, is going to throw away his week-long lead in this race yet. He's got his whole team up there. They're keeping a very steady tempo lower down the slopes of the climb. And unfortunately, with the Cat and Fiddle, they can see the leader on the climb, even though he's still over a mile ahead. And it's come down another 10 seconds, Paul. It's now 3 minutes 45 seconds.
Well, if he can get over the top of the Cat and the Fiddle with 3 minutes, he's still got a good chance of taking the stage victory. A little bit further down the slope, it looks as if Ben Luckwell's been eaten up by the main field, and this is Sammy Morels of the Word Perfect squad setting the tempo, but all the time the Lamprey riders in the pink and blue jerseys at the front.
Well, there are plenty of cheers on these slopes for Malcolm Elliott, and there is the top of the Cat and Fiddle, and then we begin the long descent down into Macclesfield. He needs to hang on to as much of that 3-minute lead as he possibly can. Morel's still setting the pace for Word Perfect, thinking of Vyacheslav Yekimov. Now Nigel Perry has been picked up by this relentless pursuit, and this Lamprey team really has turned out to be a superb team in the race this year.
What an incredible crowd here as the top of the Cat and Fiddle is reached by Malcolm Elliott. I think nearly half of Sheffield must have come out here to shout for him today, and he's doing a superb ride. If he can only keep clear over the top of this climb and stay down on the road to Manchester, he could steal the victory. It's coming down very quickly, Phil, 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yes, he's had a very tough climb of the Cat and Fiddle, but he's been out front now for something like 45 miles. And the riders here, don't forget, are swapping turns at the front, and they always say the riders in the slipstreams can save as much as 30% of their energy. But this tempo is relentless, and if anything, the speed has now gone up significantly. This is the sprint for second place. Bo Hamburger is coming through on the right of our screen in the white jersey, and Mark McKay for Rally is going to have a go too. One time the King of the Mountains in the milk race, and as he comes up to the line, you know he's going to beat Bo Hamburger, and that will give him confidence. He's a young professional. So Mark McKay gets second place on the Cat and Fiddle behind Elliott. Then comes Bo Hamburger, Scott Sunderland, Danny Nellison, and then in sixth place Van Hift. The final overall result of the Pop-Tarts King of the Mountains, Scott Sunderland is the leader and the winner. Fondriest is second.
Over the top of Cat and Fiddle, and it's absolutely freezing up here. Malcolm Elliott started on the downhill run to Manchester. 2 minutes 40, he's still in yellow. He's pressing everything out of his legs. This is the home run.
In the Peak District, and now had just the flat roads into Manchester. The Lamprey team and the Word Perfect team, though, defending the overall lead of Fondriest, and the Word Perfect looking after Vyacheslav Yekimov was slowly reeling him in. At the feeding station, his lead was down 1 minute 45 seconds. Malcolm Elliott was no longer the race leader on the road. Malcolm Elliott has been in cycling a long time, a Commonwealth Games champion back in 1982, and since then the champion of Great Britain. But as Manchester approached, Malcolm Elliott found cramp setting in, and if he looks over his shoulder, the field were right behind him. So a brave attempt, which lasted in fact for 62 miles, came to an end. At one stage he looked like being the winner of this year's Kellogg's Tour, but then the race all came together. All that remained was the showdown in the city of Manchester and 3 circuits of 3.1 miles.
And as we've seen all day, the work being done by the Lamprey squad and the Word Perfect squad, but this looks very much to me like the Lex Townsend rider Keith Reynolds going clear.
So on to the finishing circuits, and Keith Reynolds, it's been a good day for the British riders today, is now on the attack. Well, Reynolds won a stage of the Tour of the Cape in South Africa way back in March this year, and now he's trying to go for the special sprint in Deansgate. The back of the field closed up, but there's a lot of racing yet to be done. Reynolds has totally committed himself now. and he really is trying hard, Paul.
But it's going to be tough because there's some very long straights on this circuit round Manchester. Superb racing course, but Reynolds really getting everything going there. Look under his old shoulder there to see what the situation is, and it's the word perfect riders. This is Van Lanker at the front, a former winner of the milk race, also doing the pressure at the front, followed by Tom Cordes.
And they've got him right in the sights. Look, they're just limiting his gains here. Reynolds trying to hang on. He's going to make a right-hand turn a little ahead of the field. Word Perfect now taking over the role from Lamprey as the men to do the chasing. And in fact, Reynolds looked over there just to see what sort of gap it was like. He swung now around towards Deansgate and the big sprint, and the whole field are lining up behind him.
Well, he's got a little bit of a gap, and if he can just get to the line, there's a hotspot sprint competition here. A look under his shoulder, and the main field really shooting down upon him.
And in fact, this is Ben Luckwell, the sprint leader, who's coming for him. This is the way to go out as winner of the series. Luckwell taking on Walker. Luckwell gets it on the line, and there's still one more sprint left in the Ordnance Survey competition. That'll be up shortly, but right now Ben Luckwell, those 5 points there, gives him the victory overall. Walker gets second, Reynolds just about hangs on for third, and the race again has come all together. So now we're on to the second circuit of the centre here. The city of Manchester really putting on a great finishing circuit. There are thousands of people lining along Deansgate. We're on the back of the circuit here, out in the country if you wish. And Maurizio Fondries now must be feeling confident. Victory is literally just around the corner.
Well, he's just got a couple of laps to go, not very many miles, and you know, there's a lot of riders at the back here suffering. You can see the gaps appearing. That looks to me very much like Steve Dowse on the rally squad there, and it's a very high pace being set by Lamprey and the Word Perfect riders at the front.
And Max Shanley just flashed through the picture there. He's a sprinter. I'd have thought he'd been better at the front of the race, but Max staying out of trouble at the back as they again file down towards the finishing line. This is at the front, and this is Tim Harris. My goodness me, the FS Maestro boys have worked hard today to make sure. But look at this now, we've back the Word Perfect, and this is Edwin van Hooijdonk leading out Vyacheslav Yekimov. There's 3 seconds bonus on the line, so I think van Hooijdonk will move away, and he does. He lets Yekimov take the 3 second, but you know, it's a salutary gain here because the 24 seconds was the deficit this morning between Yekimov and Fondries. He gets 3 back there, but it still leaves 21 in the bank as far as Fondries is concerned. So they're over the line, and next time round will be the big finish because they're now out on the final lap, and it's Rolf Aldag on the attack.
Well, Aldag is a challenger yesterday, and there we've got that last confirmation of the sprint. Ekimov took it, the 3 seconds. Van Hooijdonk, his teammate, was second there, and Aldag third. But the final overall in the Ordnance Survey sprint competition goes to Ben Luckwell ahead of Mark Walsham.
So Aldag has been brought under control again, and once more it's the Word Perfect boys now trying to make sure at least Yekimov will keep his second place as Brian Smith, the Motorola, and the British champion now shows his colours to the people of the city of Manchester. Well, Brian Smith was one of those riders really badly stunned in that bad crash a few days ago. We haven't seen too much of him since, but he's now at the front of the field. And now it's the rest of the Motorola team coming up here. This is Sean Yates. What a great rider he's been. And now indeed set to finish the best British rider in this race this week. And there's few would disagree with that. There's the yellow jersey. And he also is now looking for a grand finish here. But Motorola, Paul, I think they're looking for a win here for Frankie Andreu.
Well, I think that's what it is. Sean Yates, the animal, pulls off there. He's done his turn at the front. Stephen Swart takes over now, and second place there is Frankie Andreu, who finished second on the Champs-Élysées stage of the Tour de France. But in the green jersey, just 4 or 5 places back there, is Olaf Ludwig, the man who won yesterday. And you know what? I think the Motorola boys have gone much too early.
Well, they've run out of paces because Swart is running out of steam, and he knows now that he's got to keep going because they don't want to put Andreu up front too early. Frankie's going to sit there as long as possible, but the others are coming back, and one of the men who's coming back here, look at the face of Maurizio Fondries. He's trying to drag up his teammate here, Jan Serrada, and I think, in fact, Fondries is actually trying to pay off his teammate here for the victory. He's giving it everything. He's a long way from the line, but he's bringing forward Jan Serrada, a man who won 3 stages of the Tour of Italy this year and 1 stage in the Tour de France. He's gone off the front, and he's left Serrada to finish it off, and he's going to. Fondries salutes the crowd as winner of the Kellogg's Tour, and now Serrada salutes the crowd as winner of the stage. The Lamprey team really have been the #1 team of the race this year. They've won the team and the race.
Well, what a superb move by Maurizio Fondries there. He's had the yellow jersey since the start of this year's Tour, and in fact he pays back his teammate Jan Serrada.
And so a terrific result indeed. Jan Zurada winning, Olaf Ludwig second, Gary Coltman third, and Frankie Andreu in fourth place. So Zurada on the podium, and Paul Sherwin now speaks with three of the riders who've been very happy with their tour.
Fantastic crowds along the road today.
Yeah, that's what kept me going really. If it hadn't been for that, I would have probably thought, well, you know, I'll go back, drop back and save myself. I mean, this finish today might have suited me, but it was just great being on the home roads and sort of blazing the trail and seeing having everybody shouting for me. It just felt terrific.
Maurizio, vous avez gagné le Tour de Grande-Bretagne. Ça va être une grande victoire pour vous, non?
The Kellogg's Tour is fantastic, very, very good.
Well, Sean, the rumour is that you're not going to ride the Tour de France next year. Will you be back for the Kellogg's Tour?
Yeah, I certainly will.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Sean Yates taking sixth place, best of the British, Gonchenkov seventh, and we go down to the last man, Reynolds, finishing 84th. Rob Reynolds-Jones in 84th place. For the top five men of the race, Fondries wins by 21 seconds ahead of Vyacheslav Yekimov. Ludwig is third, and Jan Zurada climbs to fourth with that victory. Happy man on the podium tonight, and part of his prize, by the way, a 38-piece suite of Waterford Crystal. The under-24 runner winner was Danny Nellison. Well, there was no doubt who the strongman was in this year's Kellogg's Tour of Britain, Maurizio Fondries, but now he's going to have to do it all again on Sunday when he goes over the Pennines for Britain's only World Cup counting event, the 144 miles Leeds Classic. He'll be joined there too by other big names in the sport. Lance Armstrong, the world champion, will be in town, and so too the winner of this year's Tour de Flanders, Gianni Bugno. It really is a magnificent field. You can watch the highlights of that event exclusively here on Channel 4 on Tuesday evening at 11:15. So put a note in your diaries. Now, since this race rolled away from Glasgow, you really have taken in the spirit of the occasion. Thank you very much for all the banners. We've enjoyed seeing them, and some of you really have been quite inventive. So from the team here on the Kellogg's Tour of Britain, until Tuesday, goodbye.